Hi, everybody, and hi, everybody. Please mute your computers if you have not done so yet. Otherwise, we're going to get some nasty feedback. This is Ryan Steens. I am the Assistant Director at the Texas Digital Library, and today we are having a demo and review of the latest sprint by the software development team at the Texas A&M University Libraries. And our product owner who will be leading us through today is Stephanie Larison from Texas State University. And so I'm going to let them take it away.
Oh, there's a couple. Thank you, Ryan. So I heard a couple more people have just joined, so welcome. I see some new names on here, so welcome to you guys. I want to let you know that our rules is that you need to keep both your phone and your computer muted. I am the only one who is allowed to speak to the developers, so they're going to be asking me questions and I'm going to comment. You may, however, put some questions in the chat window. This is going to be a pretty longer than normal public demonstration, so we may not get. I'm sure that we're going to have time to get to your questions, but we may need to hold them to the end. We'll just see how it goes. And this is getting recorded, and it will be posted online at the Vireo website. So I think whenever Texas A&M developers are ready to go, I'm ready.
Awesome. My name is Jeremy Huff, and I'll be leading Vireo 4's 21st Sprint demo. So I'm going to start off with this VIR 167. This is a large card. You can see 13-point estimated to it, that was placed on the Sprint without necessarily an expectation of completing this card. But we were hoping to just get a real head start on it, and so I'm just going to begin by giving kind of an update on where we're at with progress on this particular feature. So it reads, as an administrator, I want to connect to SWORD endpoints to export. Okay. So I have pulled up a instance of Vireo that's running on one of our developers' computers, Jason, who did a lot of work on this feature. Currently, the state of this particular feature is that we are able to add deposit locations, and we've stuffed out a lot of the code that's going to be required to do things like a stored deposit to a particular repository. We are, however, not completing a deposit, but we are able to, and it looks like it just went through, so I'm super happy about that. We are able to use this test connection and find available collections button to connect to a specific running instance of a sort-enabled repository, and there we go, get a bunch of collections from it. So I'll pick a likely candidate here. Sure, why not? And we will create this deposit location, and there it is. And if we go to edit it, you can see that it has maintained that location right there. So it was, as you can see, it's not a feature complete by any means, but it was a big advancement for Vireo 4 to be able to bring in the SWORD libraries and to be able to begin to establish these kind of connections with SWORD repositories. So, Stephanie, are there any questions about the state of VIR 167?
No, I don't think so. So to finish it up, it will be actually demonstrating it actually going into a repository, or what are the steps that will indicate that it's completed?
Yeah, so our card will be completed when a submission is able to be brought into a SWORD-enabled repository, and you're actually able to go to the repository and see that submission there.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
So we should expect to see VIR 167 on subsequent sprints, but probably at a lower point value in the future because we were able to make some progress on it. So, all right, I'm going to get to the actually submitting for acceptance. VIR 390 is what we're going to start with. It's kind of a boring one, but it's real easy to demonstrate. As a manager, I would like to create field profiles with the input type of Orchid ID. We ended up going with input underscore Orchid, but the functionality is the same. So I'm going to demonstrate that by coming over to, let's see, we're done with this one. Coming over to this instance of Vireo. And if we select this organization, College One, and we come down to manage its workflows, we can see we have an abbreviated workflow. I created this smaller workflow for the purposes of this demo. The full default Vireo workflow has a lot more fields on it, as you can see, but we're going to be focusing on College One's workflow here. And you can see that College One does have a field profile for Orchid. And if I go to edit that and expand the advanced section, you can see that it was created with an input type of Orchid, which will allow this field, when being populated during the submission process, to connect with all the validation stuff that we've done for Orchids. Are there any questions about that card?
Nope. Looks like it works the same.
All right. So does that meet your expectations for VIR 390?
Yes.
Awesome. You can pull that on over. Solve it. Okay, we're going to take a look at VIR 253. It says, as a student, I want my personal data populated from Shibboleth, so I don't have to enter it. Okay, we'll take a look at that over here. The same view can kind of show us how this is set up. We have currently set up first name to map to some Shibboleth data. It also happens in this advanced area of the field profile creation. And you can see that we have a selector right here for Shibboleth attribute mapping. And if I select it, I'm able to specify that I would like this attribute to map to a certain Shibboleth value that has been pre-populated. So by selecting first name, that will cause this field, when it appears on a submission, to not be manually editable, but to be pre-populated with whatever value came from Shibboleth. So just to kind of further demonstrate that, I'm going to map last name, which is currently not mapped, I believe. I'm going to set it to the Shibboleth pre-populated credential of last name. I'm going to update that. And then we can come over to submission. This is a submission from earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new submission. And I'm going to create it on College One, which has that workflow, that smaller workflow that we were editing. And, oh no. Okay. I don't think so. I'm going to take one more pass at this, but already I'm going to say that we're not going to submit this card for approval, just because clearly we need to figure out why that didn't. Department. Try it on my paper where there's no submission in existence. Yeah, we need to give that a shot. Go to the department, and I'm going to add a child organization here, which should have the same workflow. Just confirm that real fast. And we will check its mappings. Okay. And I'm going to create a submission in this department right here. Okay. I'm so sorry about that. We will investigate why that is occurring and get back with you, Stephanie, when we have an update on that card.
Okay.
All right. So this VIR 253 is going to stay in the in testing column. I'm going to move to active document sidebar module and custom action sidebar module. We're going to take both VIR 148 and VIR 150 at the same time. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to check out one of those submissions that we have just created. We're going to take a look at it in the list view here, and we're going to be able to jump to the submission view. So for VIR 148, we were concerned with this active document sidebar module right here. Previously, it was not handling the when there was no manuscript, when was no file associated with the submission, it was not displaying the word none here. So the copy viewer 3's functionality with that, we now responds well to there not being a document attached to the submission. Does that meet your expectations for VIR 148?
Yes, it does.
All right. And VIR 150 pertain to this custom action sidebar module right here. We see that we have two custom actions defined in the system, and they are appearing here on the submission view, and they can be checked, and they will persist. So when we reload the submission, you can see that that remains checked there. Does that meet your expectations for VIR 150?
I think so. What is VIR 150 is specifically the custom actions in this view? Is that right?
In this view specifically. So
okay.
It would not include the custom actions and their display either for advisors or for students.
Right. Okay. Yes. Looks good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. I will pull those cards over. Okay. VIR 388. As a student, I want a continued submission action on the submission history. And I think we might have seen that already, but I'll just draw our attention to it. If I come back here to our manage or review your submissions, you can see previously we did not have these continue buttons, but I can assure you that we do have them, and they do connect you up with the submission that you were editing. I guess not, though. So I'm going to hold off on this one as well, Stephanie, just because I don't know if it was super obvious, but it took us to the first submission instead of the second one. So we're going to take a look at that as well.
Okay.
All right. We're going to take a look at VIR 391 and 392 together. As a manager, I would like Orchid IDs to be validated, and as a manager, I would like Orchid IDs to be verified. So in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to, let's see, log in over here in Firefox as James Creel. We have a registered account for James, and he has a valid Orchid. So we should be able to log in using his email address that's associated with his Orchid ID or Orchid. All right. And let's see. Awesome. Okay. So James is going to start a submission over here in College 1.
Submission?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, submission 4. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, and we're going to look at how this ORCID field right here is validated. So first I'm just going to put in a few numbers, and we can see that it immediately notices that that doesn't follow the format for a valid ORCID. And it lets you know that it needs to have these 4 blocks of numbers. I can also put in a Wikipedia open. Maybe not. Well, I'll pull up an ORCID ID that is valid, but not associated with James's account. And we could grab that right here. You can see that this is now accepted as a valid format for an ORCID, but it is not associated with the email address that James registered with when he registered for Vireo. So it tells us that it doesn't match, this profile, ORCID profile doesn't match the registered email, the first name, or the last name. Finally, I will try the actual email that's associated, the actual ORCID that's associated with James's email. And when I put that value in, we should have it saved. Let's see. Is that right? No, I didn't copy it.
You said fill out first name, last name. The token expired and switched to.
Oh, okay, all right.
Log out.
Okay. Cool. All right, let's grab this. So, Stephanie, I'm going to ask you to focus on the ORCID validation portion of what's going on right here.
Okay.
Oh. All right, so this ORCID should be the one that is associated with James's email, and it should validate with the ORCID API. And in fact, it does. Awesome. So in regards to ORCID validation and verification, do you have any questions or anything you'd like to address?
Just only, it looks like it checks for a little bit more than just the name and the ORCID ID. I think it goes a little bit beyond what's going on in Vireo 3. I think somebody can correct me, but I just wanted to let people know that we're aware of that, and if there's some guidelines or something that we need to be providing the student, or what to do when you encounter this red note, that will be coming.
I also want to point out, in addition to this, that these features are toggleable over here in ORCID settings. Currently, validate ORCID is not how we're going to disable that feature for validating the form of the ORCID, but authentication with ORCID Central can be shut off using this setting right here. So that's another aspect of that. In regards to ORCID's validation and verification, do those features meet your expectations?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take a look at BIR 373, 375, and 385. And we're going to here. take a look at the language on those cards. 373. Validation for field values based on field profile properties, specifically input type. We're also going to look at, as a student, I want to review and submit my submission to make sure all data are correct and queue it up for administrator to review. And in addition to that, we're going to take a look at 385, which as a student, I want to click links to take me to any page in the submission to help. Me navigate and fix errors. Okay. So we're going to take a look at that. This email right here, the field profile that causes this to show up on this workflow step is of the input type email address. And so because it is of the input type email address, it will only validate on a validly formatted email. Similarly, the phone number will validate, but validate on a valid format for a 10-digit phone number. And you can see if I put in a valid email address here, it will save. That's the basics to how this input type validation works. I'm going to now demonstrate how we can do, so it'll validate on a field by field basis if you're going through the application, but if we skip to the end, it will notice all the validation errors throughout the submission, and it will disallow the use of this submit button as long as these things are disabled. For the convenience of the student submitting, we have these links that will jump back to a specific section in the email. A specific section in the submission. And we also are able to jump to a specific field in the submission. And the browser will actually orient the window on that field. So I'm going to quickly fill in this data. I'm going to see the phone number will not validate if it's malformed. It doesn't validate on whether or not the phone number is absurd. We also have a committee member here. The reason there are two fields associated with this is of input type contact. All profiles that are of input type contact will take both a name and an email address. So I can email Bob, and I'm going to utilize this mailinator address so we can easily check it for that field right here. So give him an email. Okay. You can continue to review, and you can see that now it lights the submission, and it allows me to click this submit button. And before that, I'm just going to take a look over here and make sure I haven't forgotten anything. We have validated input types. We have gone to a review section that allows me to review the submission, and we have looked at the links that allow us to jump back to fix certain sections. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that, and it says submission complete, and you can see that we have submitted this submission to College One on Valentine's Day, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, so we'll pause now just to submit VIR 373, 375, and 385 for approval.
They look great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. VIR 372 reads, as a student or advisor, I should be able to see the submission status page. So I'm going to start with the student part of that card. now you can see that because this first submission here has been submitted, its actions are different. I can no longer delete or continue, but I can view. And if I click on that, you can see that I get a summary of the required submission. In fact, actually, I guess all the fields on the submission because Orchid was not required. But so this is a review. This ultimately will be where the custom actions are visible. So this view is not complete by any means, but it's there are pending cards to finish out the functionality of this view. But that's the student portion of this. Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out to everyone that this is a very abbreviated workflow. So, I mean, your normal submission view would have the titles and all that stuff, but they created something very, very short in order to show the validation without having to fill so many things in. So if you're looking at this going, that doesn't look right, it's simply because it's just very limited information that's being shown. So, yeah. Looks good. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to go over here to settings, and I am going to come to list view actually, and we can see that submission right here that has been submitted. And over here we have a button. This has moved locations from Vireo 3 to Vireo 4, primarily because it would have been based on the dynamic nature of these summary sections right here, it would have been difficult to continue to place them in one of these tabs, and so we felt that this was a dependable location for this button to be located. I am going to go ahead and generate this advisor email and head over to Mailinator. And we can see that an email was sent. Currently, our email system is not templating the subject. That's an additional card that's remaining to be completed, but it is templating the body of the emails. And you can see that it got the name right, and it gives me this link to review the submission. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and you can see that it takes me to this advisor review page, which also is lacking the custom actions and some of this functionality. As far as persisting these communications right here is also a pending future work, but the review of the submission is what we're focusing on, and the fact that it is putting these fields out here. This one does only focus on, I believe this is also the functionality for Vireo 3, the required fields on the submission is all that gets shown on this view. Stephanie, do you have any questions about those cards, that card?
I don't think so, but since we do have it looks possibly a couple new people, I just wanted to kind of point out or highlight the relationship of the workflow versus what you see in the workflow you make. The steps of the workflow are going to be identical to what the student sees. It's going to be identical to the tabs that you see for the staff that's working on a submission. So, and then as you can see here in the advisor view, so there's just kind of two tabs in this very, very limited, abbreviated kind of workflow. There's personal information and contacts. So, and if you go back to and actually see the staff view of it to show also those two tabs, just personal information, just contacts, because it's specifically limited to that particular submission and workflow. So
here
the
they
other
are,
one,
right here.
yeah, very good. So I just wanted to kind of point that out to folks because that is one of the very, very, that's one of the big kind of new things, and you just have to sort of understand why. And that's the big reason why we had to move the generate advisor email. So it would be anyway. It was a problem, so we had to move it. So. That's one reason why. It looks good.
Absolutely. All right. Well, fantastic. I will pull VIR 172 over into the done column. Resolve. And via 387, as a manager, I want to be able to generate an email to the advisor by clicking a button on a single submission view that was also just demonstrated. Did that meet your expectations?
Yes, it does.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. I'm sorry, I skipped one. As a student, I want a view submission action on the submission history page. And I know we just saw that and clicked on it, but I don't know if I drew our attention to it. So there it is right there. Does that meet your expectations?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that does it. We are going to be investigating 253 and 388 and trying to figure out what precisely went wrong. I can tell you that because we've done some practice demos here and seen it working correctly very recently, that my hope is that it's nothing too time-consuming. It seems like the feature is just right there. Yeah. One of the major differences, we're just brainstorming here kind of as we're sitting here, but one of the major differences between this particular instance and the previous ones where we were testing this is that we had created many submissions, and previously we were only testing that feature with one submission at a time. So I think that might have something to do with the change in behavior. So we have a place to start looking for those. But yeah, I think that concludes our demonstration.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. So I think this is probably the longest demo that we've had so far. So you've accomplished a lot, and I think hopefully it's kind of obvious to those who've been following along for a while that not me, the developers have done a lot of work, and there's a lot that's built. So we're getting closer and closer. And I wanted to point out that the developers believe, and they'll be able to explain this better than I, but because so much has been fleshed out, the few remaining items that need to be done could actually be done by other universities, other developers. This is a good time. This is a very good time for you to either get in, if you're not a developer here, on the line, if you can get contact for the folks at your institution who may be responsible for Vireo. Now is a good time to participate if you can and help us get this finished. And but we're not yet at the point for the users to actually go in and start playing around. But we are at the point where we could certainly solicit or use some additional help. But the guys can talk a little more about that, or whatever the technical terms are, or let you know what to do to contact. I guess you can either say something in the chat window, you can contact James or Jeremy or Ryan. I'm not sure. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about on that?
Well, this is James here, Stephanie, and what I would say on that is it's just kind of a manageable list, it seems to me, of remaining features that are going to get this to the required full feature set. Things like finishing out the email templates that we saw with the advisory email there, the kind of large in use at different institutions. We need to finish out all the list of different types of exporters, because, of course, the stored export is only one of a variety of different kind of exports. Let's see, what else might have been pending there, gentlemen? Oh, yeah, the action log. Action logging has to occur at a number of places in the application regarding submissions. Yeah, we could think about fleshing out the features around the custom actions. So kind of a wide variety of sort of one-off things that it would be easy for a developer to dive in and add on to the application. And I can prepare some documentation for that remaining work that I can circulate. That
sounds great. Thank you. I want to address, Renee has a question about, is the context the final language for committee? That was just an example just to show, just to quickly get through a workflow. No, you can have that named whatever it is you like, and I'm not even sure if that's, if there usually is a tab called contact. I don't think so. So usually it's like, I don't know, the files or something like that. So no, don't worry about that. That was just done for this demonstration. So will there also be the committee roles like we have now? Yes. Yes, but slightly different, and I'm not at the point where I can explain it very well. So it has to do with the input type contact. So there are some things, so there are some input types that are a name and an email, and then there are other input types that may just be a name or text field. So yes, there will be different roles. So, but how that works out in here, there's different ways to do it, and I don't have like a clear way to explain that right now. But I will someday.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in Vireo 3, the advisor would have been a name, which is a text field, plus an email address, which is an email address, and the rest of the committee members would have just been names, which is, say, text fields. And, yeah. You could label those whatever you want to call them. If you wanted particular roles from the user perspective, you could put different labels on those.
I can kind of demonstrate this a little bit. Member, and this is not share. Just spell that right. We can make this repeatable, and we're going to create a label for that, and we could assign a metadata key, but we're just going to have this be input type text. I'm going to go ahead and create that. And you can see that now on this, what was the contacts tab, we now have a committee member, which is still at that input type contact, but we could create a repeatable list of any number of these profiles right here for a single committee member. So that's just very quickly a way of demonstrating, I think, what you were describing.
All right, let's see. Jill has a question. My institution requires login to get into Vireo. You demonstrated shibboleth verification from within Vireo. Is prior to verification going away? I believe the answer is no. It should work exactly the same way as it does now. And if I'm wrong, somebody tell me I'm wrong.
No, it should. And one of the things that we discussed before the demo is that there was actually some knock-on benefits from the way that we set up the shibboleth mappings. So if I come over here to personal information and we take a look at first name and advanced, and we see that this has been mapped to the shibboleth attribute, well, this is actually kind of a misnomer currently in Vireo 4, because this mapping is actually not to the shibboleth attribute, but to the credential inside Vireo of first name, which happens to be populated from shibboleth, but it also can be populated from just registering an account. So currently, when this mapping is set up, it will pre-populate that field in the submission, even for users that have just registered in a more traditional way with Vireo.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. So I wanted to also point out that currently in Vireo 3, you as the user, the administrator, Jill, you do not have, you don't have access to what shibboleth does. So, I mean, that was set up for you in the background. So they have, they're just showing what actually exists there. And you also saw like a big list of all kinds of possibilities. I need to point out, so Vireo 4 will be able to accept whatever it is your institution would like to pass along to it. So it's very, very likely that your institution is not going to allow all of those fields to pre-populate Vireo. So, but Vireo can do, it's capable of doing, to pulling in any information that would be sent over. But yeah, this whole shibboleth thing, it's been there, but it has not been something that's under your control. And it's quite likely that this might also be a permission thing later on. So we're just sort of depending on just more discussions or something, or comfort level of folks, how you see that you might use it or not want to use it. So you can give us feedback on that when you start testing.
I will say, if you have a TDL hosted Vireo, it is unlikely the first thing we're going to want to do is start adding a whole bunch more things that we're trying to pull out of the LDAP. There are a lot of legal hurdles that we need to make sure we clear before that seems like a great idea.
Any other questions? I guess not. I don't see anyone typing. Thank you, Jeremy and James and Jason and Ryan Steens, and the Ryan at Texas A&M. Thank you for all your work, and I'm not sure who else might be there. William, I can't tell. But thank you to all the A&M developers. You guys have done a whole lot of work. So we'll send out information that James can get stuff together about a little bit more information for developers about what you can do, and if you want to participate, and we'll be in touch that way. I think
Stephanie,
that, yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to close by introducing our new developer, Ryan Lousaw, to everybody on the call, and say that he has made some great contributions during this last sprint. And I also want us to give a fond farewell to our developer, Simon Fraser, who will be leaving this week to pursue other career opportunities.
Well, thank you, Simon. So good luck to you, and Ryan, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to wrap it up. If anybody has any questions in the interim, feel free to email the Vireo ETD email group, or contact Stephanie directly, and or Billy, and we are going to call it a sprint review. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.